The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched for miles under a dome of pure crystal. Representatives from 200 species sat in their assigned seats, talking in hushed voices about the day's business. The air hummed with translation devices working overtime to convert thousands of different languages into something everyone could understand. Ambassador Zekthar of the Zephyrian Empire stood at the center podium. His forearms crossed in disgust. His purple scales caught the artificial light as he turned to address the council. Behind him, a holographic display showed a small blue planet spinning slowly in space. "Honored council members," Zekthar began, his voice carrying the authority of someone used to being obeyed. "We gathered today to discuss the latest request for membership from the third planet of the Sol system. They call themselves humans." A ripple of quiet laughter spread through the hall. The Vortanian delegate, a creature that looked like a walking tree, swayed with amusement. Humans? Those bipedal mammals that barely invented faster-than-light travel 50 years ago? Zekthar nodded. The same species that still fights wars on their own planet. Their technology is primitive. Their society is divided into hundreds of small nations that can barely work together. Yet they dare to request a seat among us. The holographic display changed to show images from Earth. Cities with simple buildings. Aircraft that use chemical propulsion. Ships that sailed on water instead of floating above it. To the assembled aliens, it looked like a museum of ancient technology. Council Speaker Morden, an ancient being whose species have been exploring space when humans were still living in caves, raised one of his 6 hands. "What makes this request different from the others we have rejected? Surely these humans understand their place in the galactic order." "That is exactly the problem," Zekthar replied, his voice growing colder. "They do not understand their place. Their ambassador was told quite clearly that species of their developmental level are not ready for council membership. Yet they persist in sending messages. They even had the audacity to suggest that their unique perspective might benefit our discussions." More laughter echoed through the hall. The crystalline representative, a being made entirely of living diamond, chimed in with a sound like breaking glass. "Unique perspective? What could a species that has not even colonized their own star system teach us?" Zekthar walked slowly around the podium, letting his words sink in. "This brings me to why I requested this emergency session. These humans are becoming an annoyance. They refuse to accept our decision. Worse, they have begun broadcasting messages to other council species, trying to establish direct diplomatic contact." The mood in the hall shifted. What had been amusement became concern. Council Speaker Morden leaned forward in his massive chair. "Are you suggesting these humans are attempting to circumvent council authority?" "I am stating it as fact," Zekthar said. 3 days ago, human ships entered the Proxima system without permission. They claimed to be conducting peaceful exploration. But their presence violated at least 7 council regulations regarding unauthorized species movement. The tentacle delegate from the Kraken world spoke up, his voice bubbling through the water-filled sphere that kept him alive. "Perhaps a formal warning would suffice. Most primitive species respond appropriately to a show of superior force." Zekthar's eyes gleamed with something that might have been hunger. "Honored delegate, that is exactly what I propose. However, I believe a simple warning will not be enough. These humans have shown remarkable stubbornness for such a primitive species. They need to understand not just our superior technology, but the consequences of challenging established galactic order." He touched a control on the podium, and the holographic display changed to show the Zephyrian fleet. Hundreds of massive warships floated in perfect formation around their home world. Each ship was longer than Earth's largest cities, armed with weapons that could crack planets. "The Zephyrian Empire has maintained galactic peace for 3,000 years, Zekthar continued. We have done so by ensuring that primitive species understand their place. When the mantis worlds became aggressive 2 centuries ago, we demonstrated the futility of resistance. When the silicon-based entities attempted unauthorized expansion, we provided them with a clear education in reality. Council Speaker Morden studied the display carefully. "What exactly are you proposing, Ambassador?" "A limited military action," Zekthar replied smoothly. "Nothing that would threaten the species' survival, of course. Simply a demonstration of superior force that will convince these humans to abandon their inappropriate ambitions. A few destroyed orbital facilities, perhaps their primitive space stations. Enough to show them the difference between their technology and ours." The hall fell quiet as the council members considered this. The Vortanian delegate was the first to speak. "The humans have shown no signs of actual aggression. Would such action not violate council principles regarding unprovoked attack?" Zekthar's expression did not change. "They violated our space. They ignored direct orders to cease diplomatic contact. They continued to broadcast messages despite being told to stop. These are acts of aggression, regardless of their primitive technology. Furthermore," he continued, his voice taking on a persuasive tone, "allowing this behavior to continue sets a dangerous precedent. If primitive species believe they can ignore council authority, how long before others attempt similar actions? The Galactic Council's authority depends on all species understanding their proper place in the order of civilization." The debate continued for several hours, but the outcome was never really in doubt. The Zephyrian Empire was one of the Council's most powerful members. They had successfully maintained order in their sector of the galaxy for millennia. Their methods might seem harsh, but they were effective. When the vote came, it was not even close. Only 12 species voted against authorizing the Zephyrian action. The rest either supported it or abstained. Council Speaker Morden announced the decision with the weariness of someone who had seen this pattern many times before. "The Zephyrian Empire is authorized to conduct a limited demonstration of force against the human homeworld. The action should be sufficient to discourage further violations of Council authority, but not so extensive as to threaten species survival." Zekthar bowed formally to the Council. "Your wisdom honors us all. The Zephyrian fleet will depart within 1 standard day. This unfortunate situation will be resolved quickly and efficiently." As the council session ended and representatives began to leave, most gave little thought to the humans of Earth. In a galaxy filled with countless species at various stages of development, the rise and fall of primitive civilizations was commonplace. Some learned their place peacefully. Others required more direct education. None of them suspected that they had just made the greatest mistake in galactic history. Admiral Sarah Chun stood in the command center of Luna Station, watching the tactical display with cold eyes. Red dots moved across the 3-dimensional map, showing the approach of the Zephyrian fleet. 18 massive alien warships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built, moving steadily toward Earth. "Time to contact?" she asked. 6 hours, Admiral," replied Commander Torres from his position at the sensor station. His voice was steady, but she could hear the tension underneath. "They're coming in fast and making no attempt to hide their approach." Admiral Chun nodded. Around her, the command center buzzed with quiet activity. Officers moved between stations, relaying information and checking system status. The mood was focused, professional. No panic, no fear. Just the calm efficiency of people who knew their jobs. "Any response to our communications?" she asked. "Nothing, ma'am," said Lieutenant Kim from the communications station. "We've sent the standard first contact protocols, offered to negotiate, even asked what they want. They're not responding to any frequency." Admiral Chun studied the display. The alien ships maintained perfect formation as they approached. Their technology was clearly superior to anything Earth possessed. Each ship probably carried enough firepower to level entire cities. Against conventional thinking, humanity should be preparing to surrender. But Admiral Chun was not thinking conventionally. "Send a message to all stations," she ordered. Condition read, "Implement Protocol 7. The communications officer's fingers hesitated over her console for just a moment. Protocol 7 had never been used before. Most people hoped it would never be needed. "Ma'am, are you sure?" "Once we activate Protocol 7. "I'm sure, Lieutenant." "Send the code." The message went out on frequencies that most of Earth's population did not know existed. Deep beneath mountains, in facilities hidden under ocean floors, in secret installations scattered across the solar system, ancient machines came to life. Systems that had been dormant for decades began running startup sequences. Weapons that had never been tested in actual combat started their activation cycles. Commander Torres looked up from his station. "Admiral, we're getting responses from all Protocol 7 facilities. Fusion reactors are coming online. Weapon systems are charging. Estimated time to full readiness is 4 hours. "Good," Admiral Chum replied. "What about our fleet?" "The visible fleet is maintaining standard patrol positions," Torres said. "But the shadow fleet is moving into position as ordered." On the tactical display, the red dots representing human ships looked pathetically small compared to the approaching alien armada. 12 patrol cruisers, 8 cargo haulers, and the Luna station itself. Against 18 alien dreadnoughts, it looked like certain defeat. But Admiral Chen was watching different displays. Screens that showed heat signatures appearing in seemingly empty space. Energy readings that indicated massive objects moving silently through the void. Ships that existed in official records as decommissioned, or lost in training accidents, taking their positions around Earth. The Zephyrian fleet entered the outer solar system exactly on schedule. Admiral Chun watched them approach, noting their formation, their energy signatures, their apparent confidence. They moved like a force that had never faced serious opposition. That was about to change. "Incoming transmission," Lieutenant Kim announced. "It's from the lead alien ship. Put it on main screen." The display shimmered, and Ambassador Zekthar's face appeared. His expression was exactly what Admiral Chun expected. Arrogant, dismissive, completely confident in his superiority. "Primitive humans," Zekthar began without any greeting. "You have violated Galactic Council space and ignored direct orders to cease your inappropriate diplomatic activities. We are here to provide education in proper behavior." Admiral Chun listened without expression as Zekthar continued. "You will immediately surrender all space-based facilities and submit to Zephyrian authority. Your orbital stations will be destroyed as a demonstration of our superior technology. Your people will learn their proper place in the galactic order. Resistance is futile and will only increase your suffering." The transmission ended. "Well," Admiral Chun said quietly, "that was rude." Around the command center, several officers smiled grimly. After decades of wondering what humanity's first contact with aliens would be like, this was not what anyone had hoped for. "Admiral," Commander Torres said, "they're charging weapons. Energy signatures indicate they're preparing to fire on our orbital facilities. Signal all stations to implement full defensive measures," Admiral Chun ordered. "And send a message to our unwelcome visitors." Lieutenant Kim opened the channel. Admiral Chun stepped forward, her expression calm and professional. "Zephyrian Fleet, this is Admiral Sarah Chun of Earth Defense Command. You have entered our solar system without permission and threatened our citizens. You have one opportunity to reverse course and leave our space immediately." She paused, letting that sink in. "If you fire on any human facility or vessel, we will consider it an act of war. And I promise you, Ambassador Zektar, You do not want to see what happens when humans go to war. The transmission ended. In the silence that followed, Admiral Chun turned back to her displays. "Admiral," Commander Torres said quietly, "they're not changing course. If anything, they're accelerating. Then they've made their choice." Admiral Chun touched a control on her command chair. "All stations, this is Admiral Chun. Execute Shadow Protocol. Weapons free." Across the solar system, machines that had waited in darkness for 50 years came fully online. In asteroid fields that looked empty, massive weapons platforms powered up their main guns. Ships that had been invisible to sensors suddenly appeared on every screen, their stealth systems deactivating to reveal weapons that had never existed in any public record. The Zephyrian fleet found themselves surrounded by an armada that had appeared from nowhere. "Ambassador." Zekthar's confident expression changed to confusion, then alarm, as his sensors registered energy signatures that should not have been possible from such a primitive species. "What is this?" he transmitted. "These readings cannot be correct." Admiral Chun smiled for the first time since the crisis began. "Ambassador, let me introduce you to humanity's real military. What you've been seeing for the past 50 years was just what we wanted you to see." The first alien ship opened fire, destroying one of Earth's visible patrol cruisers. Admiral Chun's smile disappeared. "All ships," she said, her voice carrying the cold fury of a species that had been underestimated one too many times. "Commence attack. Show them what they've awakened." The battle for Earth began, but it would not last long. The Zephyrian Empire was about to learn that there were things in the universe far worse than superior technology. They were about to discover what happened when you attacked. Species that had spent its entire evolution learning how to wage war. Ambassador Zekthar stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Where moments before his sensors had shown empty space around Earth, now they detected dozens of massive human warships. Ships that matched or exceeded his own vessels in size and energy output. Ships that should not have existed. "This is impossible," he said to his tactical officer. "Our intelligence reports clearly stated these humans possess only primitive space technology." Sub-Commander Veltar's purple scales had gone pale. "Sir, I'm reading energy signatures consistent with advanced fusion reactors, quantum torpedo systems, and what appears to be some form of gravitic manipulation technology. These readings are comparable to our own fleet capabilities." Zekthar's four hands clenched in fury. "Our intelligence was wrong, but it matters little. 18 ships against their dozen. We still have superior numbers and 3,000 years of military experience." That confidence lasted exactly 47 seconds. The human ships did not attack in the way the Zephyrians expected. There was no formal battle formation, no exchange of warnings, no honorable ship-to-ship combat. Instead, the humans did something that violated every principle of civilized warfare that the galaxy understood. They cheated. "Admiral." Chun's voice cut through space on all frequencies. "All units. Execute Doctrine Alpha. No survivors. No surrender. No mercy." The human ships scattered in all directions, moving in patterns that seemed random but were actually precisely coordinated. Some ships appeared to simply vanish from sensors, while others split apart into smaller vessels that the Zephyrian computers had not detected. What the aliens had thought were 12 ships turned out to be dozens of smaller, faster attack craft. But the real shock came when the humans opened fire. Instead of targeting the Zephyrian warships directly, they aimed for something else entirely. Quantum torpedoes streaked past the alien vessels and detonated in seemingly empty space behind them. For a moment, Zekthar thought the humans had missed completely. Then he realized what they had actually done. "Sir." Sub-Commander Veltar's voice cracked with panic. They've destroyed our fold space generators. We can't retreat. The humans had not missed. They had deliberately targeted the Zephyrian ships faster than light travel systems, stranding the alien fleet in Earth's solar system. It was a tactical move that no civilized species would consider, because it meant the battle could only end with total victory or total defeat. The Zephyrians finally understood. They were not fighting a civilized species. Zekthar opened a communication channel. Humans, this violation of warfare conventions will be reported to the Galactic Council. Honorable species do not destroy retreat capabilities. Admiral Chun's voice came back cold and empty of emotion. Ambassador, you came here to destroy our orbital facilities and kill our people. You threatened our children. We don't fight wars to follow your rules. We fight wars to win them. The real battle began then, and it was unlike anything the Zephyrian Empire had ever experienced. Human ships moved in ways that defied logic. They would disappear from sensors, only to reappear behind Zephyrian vessels. They used their own ships as weapons, ramming alien craft at speeds that should have destroyed both vessels, only to have the human ship somehow survive while the alien ship was crippled. When Zephyrian ships tried to maintain distance for long-range combat, human vessels would simply appear next to them, having somehow crossed vast distances in impossible time. When the aliens tried to close for short-range fighting, the humans would vanish and attack from directions that sensors insisted were empty space. But the most terrifying aspect of human warfare was not their technology. It was their complete disregard for their own safety. Sub-Commander Veltar watched in horror as a human vessel, its hull breached and atmosphere venting into space, continued its attack run against a Zephyrian cruiser. The human ship was clearly dying, its crew certainly dead or dying, but it kept firing until the moment it exploded against the alien vessel's shields. They're insane, Veltar whispered. They fight even when they're dying. Zekthar had no answer. In 3,000 years of Zephyrian military history, they had never encountered a species that treated war as something other than a contest of superior technology and tactics. These humans fought as if losing was literally not an option their minds could accept. The tide of battle turned decisively when the humans revealed their next advantage. Sir, Veltar reported, his voice shaking, I'm detecting massive energy sources throughout the asteroid belt. The readings suggest weapons platforms. Hundreds of them. The asteroids themselves began to move, revealing that what the Zephyrians had thought was empty space was actually filled with concealed human military installations. Weapons platforms that had been disguised as space debris opened fire with energy. Beams that could punch through Zephyrian shields like they were made of paper. But even this was not the worst of it. The worst came when the humans stopped holding back. Admiral Chun's voice cut through the battle communications. All stealth units, you are weapons-free. Begin total war protocols. Zekthar's sensors suddenly detected dozens of new human ships appearing throughout his fleet formation. Ships that had been invisible, undetectable, waiting in perfect silence among his own vessels. The humans had not just surrounded his fleet from outside. They had infiltrated it from within. The Zephyrian flagship shuddered as explosions rocked its hull. Human boarding parties somehow gotten aboard without triggering any alarms. While the space battle raged outside, human soldiers were fighting their way through the ship's corridors toward critical systems. How? Zekthar demanded. How did they get past our sensors? Past our shields? No one had an answer. The humans had not just hidden their military capabilities. They had developed technologies that were beyond current galactic understanding. Stealth systems that rendered ships completely invisible. Teleportation technology that allowed instant movement across space. weapons that seemed to ignore the laws of physics as his fleet died around him. Ambassador Zekthar finally understood the magnitude of his mistake. Humanity had not been primitive. They had been hiding for 50 years. While the galaxy dismissed them as harmless primitives, humans had been watching, learning, and preparing. They had deliberately shown only their most basic technology, keeping their real capabilities secret until the moment someone was foolish enough to threaten them. The last transmission Zekthar sent was not to his fleet, but to Zephyrian High Command. Emergency protocol. Highest priority. The humans are not what we thought. They're not primitive. They're not defenseless. They're, oh gods, they're coming for the homeworld. The transmission cut off as human boarding parties reached the flagship's command center. Admiral Chen watched the last Zephyrian ship go dark on her tactical display. The battle had lasted less than 2 hours. The Zephyrian fleet that had come to demonstrate superior technology had been completely destroyed without inflicting significant damage on human forces. Admiral, Commander Torres reported, "We're receiving surrender requests from the remaining alien crew members aboard the damaged vessels." Admiral Chen considered this for a long moment. Negative. No prisoners. Complete the mission. Ma'am, they're trying to surrender. Commander, they came here to kill our civilians. They threatened our children. They wanted to make an example of Earth. Admiral Chen's voice carried the cold finality of absolute decision. We're going to make an example too. But our example is going to reach every species in the galaxy. She touched the control on her command chair. All units, prepare for Phase 2. Target, Zephyrian Home System. We're going to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity. The human fleet began to move, leaving Earth's solar system behind. The Zephyrian Empire's 3,000 years of military dominance was about to end, and the galaxy was about to learn that there were some species you should never, ever wake up. High Commander Krexivoth received the first reports while reviewing routine patrol schedules in his office on Zephyr Prime. The Zephyrian homeworld had not seen warfare in over a millennium. Its cities sprawled across 3 continents in peaceful splendor, protected by orbital defense platforms that could destroy entire fleets. The report made no sense. Admiral Zekthar's fleet was destroyed? Krexivoth read the message again. All 18 ships? By primitive humans? His aide, a young officer named Tex Myra, shifted nervously. Sir, the automated distress beacons activated across the entire fleet within a 2-hour period. Then, silence. Krexivoth stood and walked to the massive window overlooking the capital city. Below, millions of Zephyrians went about their daily lives, unaware that their empire's most powerful fleet had just vanished. There must be some mistake. 18 dreadnoughts do not simply disappear. Sir, Tex Myra said quietly, there's more. Long-range sensors are detecting approaching ships. Unknown configuration. Moving at impossible speeds. The High Commander turned back to his desk. How impossible? They appear to be crossing interstellar distances in hours rather than days. Some of our sensor operators believe they're using technology that... Tex Myra paused, struggling with the words. That breaks the known laws of physics. Krexivoth activated his personal communication system. Within minutes, he was connected to the Planetary Defense Command, the Imperial Fleet Command, and emergency response coordinators across 12 star systems. Report, he ordered the defense commander. High Commander, we have confirmation of hostile ships approaching at multiple vectors. Early estimates suggest several hundred vessels of unknown design. They will reach our outer defensive perimeter in approximately 6 standard hours. Several hundred vessels. Krexivoth felt cold certainty settle in his chest. Deploy the 1st through 5th Defense Fleets immediately. Activate all orbital weapons platforms. And send emergency requests for assistance to our allied systems. Sir, assistance requests have already been sent, but... The defense commander's voice faltered. But what? Sir, we're receiving reports that human ships have appeared simultaneously at Zephyr Beta, Zephyr Gamma, and the Turval system. They're attacking all of our major military installations at the same time. Krexavoth stared at the tactical display that was materializing in his office. Red dots appeared across a three-dimensional map of Zephyrin space, marking human attack fleets. The pattern made no logical sense. No species possessed the military resources to attack dozens of star systems simultaneously. How many ships are we facing? He asked. Unknown, sir. The humans appear to be using some form of advanced stealth technology. Our sensors detect massive energy signatures, but the visual confirmation shows far fewer vessels than the power readings suggest. The first human ships entered the Zephyr Prime system 4 hours later. Krexavoth watched from the command center as his sensors struggled to track the approaching fleet. The ships moved in impossible formations, seeming to teleport from one location to another. When Zephyrian vessels moved to intercept, the humans simply weren't there anymore. Defense Fleet Alpha is reporting contact with enemy forces, his tactical officer announced. Admiral Mortek is requesting permission to engage. Granted. All fleets are weapons-free. The battle began exactly as the fight at Earth had begun. The Zephyrian fleet moved into traditional battle formations, ready to engage in honorable, ship-to-ship combat. The humans ignored every rule of civilized warfare. Instead of attacking the military vessels, human ships bypassed the Zephyrian fleet entirely and began systematically destroying infrastructure. Orbital factories vanished in brilliant explosions. Communication satellites were vaporized by precisely targeted energy beams. Trade stations that had operated for centuries were reduced to expanding clouds of debris. They're not fighting our fleet, the tactical officer reported in confusion. They're destroying everything else. Krexavoth watched in growing horror as the humans dismantled 3,000 years of Zephyrian civilization with surgical precision. They didn't target population centers, but they destroyed every piece of technology that kept Zephyrian society functioning. Power generation facilities, water treatment plants, food distribution networks, transportation hubs, communication systems. The humans seemed to have complete intelligence on every critical system in Zephyrian space. Sir, his communications officer called out. Admiral Mortek is reporting that human ships are appearing inside his formation. They're not approaching from outside. They're just materializing among our ships. On the main display, Krexavoth watched human vessels appear and disappear like ghosts, striking with devastating precision before vanishing again. When Zephyrian ships tried to pursue, they found themselves chasing shadows. But the worst part was the psychological effect. High Commander, came a transmission from one of the outer defense platforms. The humans, they're broadcasting on all frequencies. They're not demanding surrender. They're not making threats. They're just silent. They destroy everything they target, and they never say a word. Krexavoth tried to establish communication with the human fleet. Every message was ignored. Every attempt at negotiation was met with silence. The humans simply continued their methodical destruction of Zephyrian infrastructure, moving through space like a force of nature. Within 12 hours, the Zephyrian home system was crippled. Within 24 hours, reports came in that every major Zephyrian military installation in 12 star systems had been destroyed. Within 48 hours, the Zephyrian Empire's government was receiving surrender requests from their own colonies, who were abandoning the Empire to avoid human retaliation. But the humans were not. Finished. Krexavoth received the final blow when his intelligence officers brought him reports from across the galaxy. "Sir," the chief intelligence officer said, his voice shaking, "we've been monitoring galactic communications networks. The humans, they're not just attacking us." "What do you mean?" "Every species that voted to authorize our attack on Earth, every government that supported our action in the Galactic Council. The humans are systematically targeting them all." Krexavoth stared at the intelligence report. Species that had supported the Zephyrian action were finding their space lanes disrupted, their trade networks crippled, their military communications jammed. Nothing that would cause mass casualties, but enough to make it clear that humanity knew exactly who had voted for Earth's punishment. "How?" Krexavoth whispered. "How do they know who voted for what?" Those sessions were closed to non-council members. No one had an answer. The humans had not just hidden their military capabilities. They had been conducting intelligence operations throughout galactic space for decades. They knew everything, every government structure, every military capability, every political alliance, every economic weakness. Humanity had been preparing for this war long before anyone knew there would be a war. 3 days after the attack on Earth, High Commander Krexavoth stood in the ruins of his command center and sent his final transmission to what remained of the Galactic Council. "To all species who supported the action against humanity," he said, his voice carrying the weight of absolute defeat, "you have made a mistake that will define galactic history. These humans, they are not the primitive species we believed. They are something else entirely. Something that has been watching us, learning from us, and preparing for this moment." He paused, looking out at a city that no longer had power, water, or communications. "The Zephyrian Empire surrenders unconditionally to human forces. We beg for mercy, not for ourselves, but for our civilians who played no role in this conflict. We were wrong about everything. Humanity is not a species that can be conquered, controlled, or contained." The transmission ended. The Zephyrian Empire, which had dominated its sector of the galaxy for 3 millennia, ceased to exist as a functioning government, and across the galaxy, every species that had underestimated humanity began to understand the true meaning of fear. Admiral Chun stood in her command center, watching reports stream in from dozens of star systems. The counterattack was proceeding exactly as planned. The Zephyrian Empire was broken. Their allies were crippled. Every species that had supported Earth's punishment was learning the cost of their decision. "Admiral," Commander Torres reported, "we're receiving surrender transmissions from 17 different governments." "Noted," Admiral Chun replied. "Continue the mission." "Ma'am." Some of these species had minimal involvement in the Council's decision. "Perhaps we should consider accepting their surrenders?" Admiral Chun turned to face her bridge crew. Her expression was calm, but her eyes carried the cold certainty of someone who had seen the human race threatened with extinction. "Commander, they voted to authorize an attack on our homeworld. They voted to make an example of humanity. Now we're making an example of them. The galaxy needs to understand that. Threatening Earth has consequences that will last for generations." She turned back to the tactical display. "All fleets will continue operations until every government that supported the Zephyrian action has been neutralized. This is not about revenge. This is about ensuring that no one ever makes this mistake again." The human fleet moved deeper into galactic space. Council Speaker Mordun sat alone in the vast chamber where the Galactic Council had once governed 200 species. Now, only 47 representatives remained. The others had either been destroyed by human forces, abandoned the Council in fear, or simply stopped responding to communications. The ancient being's 6 hands shook as he reviewed the final reports. In less than 2 standard weeks, Humanity had systematically dismantled the most powerful military alliance in galactic history, not through conquest or occupation, but through surgical precision that left governments intact but powerless. The Zephyrian Empire existed only as a name. Their military was gone, their infrastructure crippled, their colonies independent. They would survive as a species, but they would never again threaten anyone. The same was true for every government that had supported the attack on Earth. A soft chime announced an incoming transmission. Morden activated the communication system, hoping for word from one of the missing council members. Instead, he found himself looking at Admiral Sarah Chun. "Council Speaker Morden," she said without preamble. "I am Admiral Chun of Earth Defense Command. I believe we need to talk." Morden stared at the human woman who had brought the galaxy to its knees. She looked remarkably ordinary. No visible weapons, no threatening posture, no signs of the terrible power she commanded. She might have been anyone's grandmother. "Admiral Chun," Morden said carefully, "the Galactic Council is prepared to discuss terms for—" "There will be no terms," Admiral Chun interrupted quietly. "I'm not here to negotiate. I'm here to inform you of new realities." The chamber fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. The species that attacked Earth no longer possessed the capability to threaten anyone, Admiral Chun continued. Their military forces have been neutralized. Their technological infrastructure has been selectively destroyed. They will recover eventually, but it will take generations. Morden found his voice. "Admiral, surely some accommodation can be reached." The Council acted in haste. "We were deceived about your species' true capabilities. If you had known what we were capable of, you would have feared us instead of dismissing us," Admiral Chun said. "But you would still have seen us as a threat to your established order. You would have found other reasons to attack us." She was right, and they both knew it. "The fundamental problem," Admiral Chun continued, "is that your galactic civilization is built on the assumption that older species are superior to younger ones. That advanced technology automatically grants moral authority. That primitive species exist to be guided, controlled, or eliminated by their betters." Morden shifted uncomfortably in his massive chair. "The Council has maintained galactic peace for thousands of years." "You've maintained galactic stagnation," Admiral Chun corrected. "You've created a system where innovation is discouraged, where younger species are kept in their place, where anyone who challenges the established order is crushed. That's not peace. That's tyranny with better public relations." The human admiral's expression remained calm, but her words carried the weight of absolute conviction. "Humanity will not be joining your council," she said. "We will not be seeking membership in your galactic community. We want nothing from you except to be left alone." "But surely," Morden protested, "with your obvious technological superiority, you could help guide younger species. You could take a leadership role in—" "No." The word was final. "We've seen what happens when species with superior technology decide to guide others. We've seen your leadership. We want no part of it." Admiral Chun leaned forward slightly, and for the first time, Morden caught a glimpse of the steel underneath her calm exterior. "Let me be very clear about humanity's position," she said. "We will trade with any species that approaches us peacefully. We will defend ourselves against any species that threatens us. We will share knowledge with those who ask respectfully. But we will not rule over anyone, and we will not be ruled by anyone. And if the Council objects to this position?" Admiral Chun smiled, and Morden felt a chill run through his ancient bones. "Council Speaker, your military forces have been observing our activities for the past 2 weeks. What have your sensors detected?" Morden consulted his datapad. Human fleets operating simultaneously in dozens of star systems. weapons technology beyond our current understanding, ship movements that suggest faster-than-light capabilities we cannot explain. And how many ships have you actually seen? The question caught Morden off guard. The reports indicate thousands of vessels across multiple fleets. You've seen exactly 12 ships, Admiral Chun said calmly. The same 12 patrol cruisers we were operating before this crisis began. Everything else has been conducted with technology your sensors cannot detect. Morden stared at her. That's impossible, is it? You've spent 2 weeks watching us dismantle the most powerful empire in your galaxy, using military assets you can't see, can't track, and can't understand. What makes you think 12 ships is our actual fleet strength? The implications hit Morden like a physical blow. If humanity had conducted their entire counterattack with invisible forces, if the ships his sensors had detected were just the ones humans wanted him to see, then what were humanity's actual military capabilities? How long? He asked quietly. How long have you been watching us? Since we achieved faster-than-light travel, Admiral Chun replied. 50 years of careful observation. 50 years of learning your languages, studying your cultures, mapping your technologies, understanding your weaknesses. We've been preparing for first contact since our first day in space, and you chose to appear primitive to us. We chose to appear non-threatening. There's a difference. Admiral Chun's expression softened slightly. We hoped for peaceful contact. We hoped that a galaxy full of advanced civilizations would welcome a new species with curiosity and friendship. Instead, we found a system designed to crush anyone who didn't fit your predetermined categories. Morden felt the weight of eons pressing down on him. What happens now? Now, nothing, Admiral Chun said. Humanity returns to Earth. We continue our own development. We leave you to govern whatever remains of your galactic community. The destroyed military forces will eventually rebuild. The crippled governments will recover. Life will go on. But the galaxy has changed forever. Every species now knows that there are others out there with capabilities they cannot understand or defend against. The age of casual conquest is over. The time when superior technology guaranteed dominance has ended. Admiral Chun stood, preparing to end the transmission. One final point, Council Speaker. Humanity has demonstrated that we prefer to be left alone. We have also demonstrated what happens to those who refuse to respect that preference. I suggest you share this information with any species that might consider Earth an attractive target in the future. The transmission ended. Morden sat in the empty chamber for a long time, staring at the blank screen. Around him, the great hall that had once echoed with the voices of hundreds of species remained silent. He activated his personal log and began to record. Council Speaker's log. Final entry. The age of Galactic Council authority is over. Not because we were conquered, but because we have encountered something that makes our entire system of governance irrelevant. He paused, choosing his words carefully. For thousands of years, we believed that civilization progressed in a predictable pattern. Primitive species developed technology, achieved spaceflight, and eventually matured enough to join the galactic community under the guidance of their elders. We believed that age meant wisdom, that time meant superiority, that our long experience gave us the right to rule. We were wrong. Humanity has shown us that there are forms of intelligence, types of civilization, and levels of technological development that exist completely outside our understanding. They achieved in 50 years what took our oldest species millennia to develop. They anticipated our reactions, planned for our responses, and prepared countermeasures for actions we had not even considered taking. Most terrifying of all, they did it while maintaining perfect peace among their own species. No species in galactic history has achieved interstellar travel without first conquering their homeworld through warfare. Humans achieved interstellar civilization while still maintaining hundreds of separate nations, cultures, and governments on their planet. They learned to cooperate without conquest. Mordun stopped the recording and activated the Council's emergency broadcast system. His next words would reach every surviving government in galactic space. To all species receiving this transmission, he said, "By order of the Galactic Council, the Sol System and all human space is hereby designated as absolutely forbidden territory. No species shall enter human space without explicit invitation. No species shall attempt to contact humanity except through official diplomatic channels. No species shall regard Earth as anything other than the homeworld of the galaxy's most dangerous civilization." He paused, letting that sink in across the galaxy. This is not a recommendation. This is a survival protocol. Humanity has demonstrated the capability to destroy our entire galactic civilization without revealing their true military strength. They have shown mercy by choosing restraint rather than conquest. Do not mistake their mercy for weakness.